Mike Papantonio on the line with us, the attorney, the talk show host with ringofireradio.com. Ring of Fire Radio, the weekend show that is heard on so many of our stations and other stations all across the country, and also on Free Speech TV as a TV program, a separate program. Ringofireradio.com is the website. Pap, how you doing?
Tom, how are you?
I'm well. Merry Christmas and all that kind of thing.
Christmas to you.
Thank you. So, eminent domain as a way to outsmart the banksters.
Yeah, banksters are pretty upset about this. What's happening in counties all over the country? I mean, it's really, you're seeing in California.
This is not just Richmond, California.
No, this is not just Richmond, California. That's one of the places, but this is called reverse eminent domain. It's a really interesting idea, Tom. Most of the time when we think of eminent domain, we think of the government coming in and saying you have to move from your home and we're going to pay you the fair market value for your house.
Right, because we're going to build a bridge or a highway through here or something.
Exactly.
Right.
So now what they've done, very creatively, turned that around and they've said that we're going to, as a city or a county or a state, we're going to buy your home. And what we're going to do is we're going to only pay fair market value for the home rather than the inflated predatory mortgage amount that Wall Street had you placed in the home for.
So hang on just a second. Let me set this up. So I've got a I got a home that I paid $200,000 for at the height of the bubble.
Right.
The bank is holding a $200,000 mortgage on it, so it's not really me who owns it. It's the bank.
Yeah.
And it's only in the marketplace right now. I couldn't sell it for more than $130.
Right. So 130 is the number you're going to get, and the bank has to take the rest. And right. You know, Wall Street really set this whole thing up, Tom. I mean, they're the ones that came up with the predatory.
So the bank has to eat the rest. In other words, the bank gets screwed to the tune of $70,000.
That's exactly right. And the bank ends up, and it falls right within the idea of eminent domain. Here's the argument: if you have a street where 4 houses are in foreclosure, 3 houses are not, then what ends up happening on that street is the 3 homes that are not in foreclosure have to live with the fact that those 4 homes aren't cared for properly. They're run down most of the time. It actually puts a stress on the city or the county because it requires more policing. It requires more attention.
Property values go down,
Property
too.
values are dramatically affected. So a place like New Jersey, Camden, New Jersey, this is another place we see it, says, you know what, we have the right to do this, and banks, you're going to have to live with it. And the bank, of course, Wall Street's furious, even though we look at the story. I mean, this story, you have to remember where it began. It began with these hustlers on Wall Street trying to sell mortgages to people that A, didn't need the mortgage. Most of them didn't even want the mortgage. They actually went door to door in some of these communities, knocking on doors, trying to get people to get that extra loan on their home, and so they could take the equity out of the home. And so now then they'd take that, they'd bundle it up, and they'd sell it on Wall Street. So now where they're stuck with, if this goes like it should, is they're stuck with having to eat a lot of that money. Look, they've made money going up on the deal. They made a ton of money on CDOs and synthetics and these swap trash that they had on Wall Street.
Not to mention all the fees they made on the original mortgage.
Exactly. And they also made money going back down because the government taxpayers paid them off to the tune of $10 trillion is where now the number has moved to. So we've given them $10 trillion as taxpayers. They're still making money on the back end of it, and the cities are saying, damn it, we're going to take this into our own hands. Really, if you think about it, Tom, what I love about this, it's grassroots fighting back. Now,
has any city actually done this though, Pap? I know that Richmond started talking about it. The banksters went in and just started absolutely raising hell.
They are. Look, let me just tell you something. They can raise all the problems they want. What you're going to see Wall Street do is this. Wall Street's going to come in and they're going to say to Richmond, if you do this, what we're going to make it, we're going to put added value, we're going to put added prices on your municipal bonds. You're not going to be, if you want to float a bond, we're going to make it more difficult for you. We're going to argue that your bad judgment with this should increase the risk of buying this bond.
So they're going to try and get the bonds downgraded.
Exactly.
Get the cities downgraded.
Just purely punishment. And then the other thing is that's an argument
for a state bank,
Well,
which is
it
a whole
is.
other thing.
Well, you have state
Whole other
banks.
conversation in one state, in South Dakota.
South Dakota, and you don't have that kind of influence in the state bank.
Yeah.
So
or
there's
is it
all
North Dakota, whichever.
Yeah, you know what? I think it is North Dakota.
Yeah.
But I think the point being, I think that it is a way to fight back, and Wall Street's they're pulling out everything they can. They're going to their senators and representatives and saying this just isn't fair. Well, listen, it's very fair for the homeowner who right now is completely buried in their house, can never pay their way out, and there'll never be an adjustment in the market to ever ever recapture that bubble amount, because they won't live long enough to do that.
Right.
So this is a way to fight back. It's brilliant, actually, and I think more communities probably we're going to start seeing are going to be looking at this, because if you've driven through some of these communities where all these foreclosed houses are just lined up, it's devastating for a community. It just breeds the spin to the bottom.
It does, and it's an absolutely brilliant technique. Has this gotten political at all? Have either political parties embraced or rejected this?
No, the Democrats are just as supportive of Wall Street on this as the Republicans. Again, we just always miss this.
This seems like the kind of thing that either party could start winning elections hugely on by just going super populist. The provision for this, for people who don't understand what we're talking about, by the way, the eminent domain, is in the Fifth Amendment. It says that government can take property if there's a benefit to the people, to the government, and but it has to reimburse for fair market value. And then that was expanded in the Kelo case to say that could even be. It doesn't have to just be roads and bridges. You can even involve for-profit organizations.
Right. I pass this on. Look, everybody listening to this broadcast can pass this idea on to your mayor, to your city council.
Right.
Look, here's the real hypocrisy here. Wall Street is complaining about the idea that what they're doing, they're whining like children, saying what's happening here is they're making us renegotiate the deal we had. Well, you see that all the time. I mean, Donald Trump went bankrupt 3 times, if you think about it. The only thing that pulled him out of bankruptcy was his ability to renegotiate with the banks. He would say, gee whiz, I owe you so much money, you're into me so much, let me stay with it, but let's reevaluate and renegotiate the amount. This is the same thing. What happens is if Richmond goes forward with this, if these places go forward, they're going to get Wall Street to the table. And they're going to say, you know what, there is a negotiated value we can talk about here, and maybe that's what you want to do. But the point being, to say that this is something that's just unique to the mortgage industry right now is ridiculous. You see banks do this all the time. The Blackstone deal with the New York Times, you may recall, where they went in and they bought the Hilton for $26 billion during the time that the bubble was getting ready to burst. They got swamped in the deal, but they went back and they negotiated and they got that money down. It happens all the time in the business
world. Well, banksters will renegotiate with anybody except average working people.
That's exactly right.
I mean, they'll renegotiate with rich people at the drop of a hat.
Well, the reason...
Or big corporation.
Yeah, it is the old thing we've talked about so many times, and that's the golden rule. The people with the gold make all the rules. Yeah. But right now you have counties and you have mayors and you have activist politicians that can use this to beat the hell out of Wall Street. It would be a very smart thing to do. It's almost reliving the Occupy movement, if you think about it. It is to say, how can we get back at the banks? You can't count on politicians doing it. They're completely owned by politicians.
Do you think it's possible that one of the reasons why Rick Snyder appointed a little dictator to the city of Detroit was to prevent this kind of thing?
Well, you're talking about Orr. Yeah. No question about it. I mean, he was the perfect appointment. He's the guy that is part of protecting Wall Street.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to do it. And I know that there was some talk on the Detroit City Council of this.
Yeah.
And Detroit's going, talk about a test case. Boy, amazing. Mike Papantonio, ringofireradio.com. Be sure to check it out. Listen to the program. Pap, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Tom.
Great having you.